The lake emerged from the middle of the forest like a dark stain that seemed to absorb all the light around it. The sun, even high in the sky, reflected on the water as if it were being swallowed by a liquid shadow, leaving the shore in a permanent twilight. Anyone who approached felt a strange chill, not only on their skin but in their chest, as if their own energy were being sucked away by the lake. The nearby trees bent discreetly toward the water, their leaves trembling without wind. The surface of the lake remained still, perfect and impenetrable, reflecting the sky but not the light. There were no waves, no animal noises. Only a heavy, profound silence that made each step seem strangely audible, echoing throughout the forest. Visitors reported mixed feelings. It was hard to believe what they were seeing. The light slowly faded as they approached the shore, leaving everything in shades of gray and dark blue. Some swore they saw the sun's glare being sucked into the lake, momentarily obscuring reality. Others felt their perception of time shift, minutes stretching like hours. The first impression was one of danger, but also of irresistible curiosity. The lake didn't directly threaten, it invited. A silent, almost hypnotic invitation that made each visitor unable to turn away quickly. Some sat by the water's edge, fascinated by the phenomenon, unable to explain why they felt so drawn to it. Longtime residents of the region avoided commenting. Those who got too close ended up changing. Some never returned. Others came back unrecognizable, speaking little, always looking at the lake as if still waiting for the sun to return. The lake didn't need shouts or violence, it simply existed still, absorbing everything around it, light, time, and attention, with deadly patience. As visitors lingered on the shore, the lake began to exhibit more subtle yet impossible to ignore effects. Time seemed to slow down, not uniformly, but in strange intervals. A minute could last 10. A step taken could feel like an eternity. Anyone trying to look at the sun soon realized it wasn't moving as before, stuck above the water, as if the lake held its own reflection, stretching the twilight over the entire forest. Some felt their bodies heavy, as if the light had physical weight. Simple movements required extra effort, and perception became slow, sluggish. The heart raced and then slowed erratically. Sensations of calm and terror alternated rapidly, confusing the mind of anyone who dared to approach. The lake didn't push anyone. It merely altered everything around it, showing that the outside world no longer mattered. Objects forgotten by visitors, backpacks, bottles, cameras, began to appear in an organized manner on the shore, always close to the water. They didn't seem to have been thrown away. They seemed to be returned by the lake, as if it were a silent guardian, reminding us that everything that approaches is under its control. Stranger accounts describe subtle distortions in the light reflected on the water, trees bent in impossible ways, human silhouettes disappearing in fractions of a second, shadows that didn't correspond to anyone. Some said they heard laughter or murmurs, but no one could ever pinpoint the source. Everything seemed connected to the dark surface that swallowed the sun. The local community began to notice patterns. Those who spent more than a few hours near the lake no longer seemed the same. Empty eyes, slow speech, dragging movements, as if the lake had marked those who allowed themselves to observe it for too long. No one reported conscious fear, only irresistible fascination, the feeling that something needed to be seen, even if it cost them their own reality. If this interpretation is making you rethink this story, leave a comment below with your perspective. These videos are meant to provoke reflection, and I read all the comments. And if this type of content interests you, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next ones. As the days passed, the effects of the lake became more evident. Visitors who had previously watched in fascination began to slow down, as if each movement required more energy than their bodies could offer. Some felt mild dizziness. Others perceived the world around them distorting. Trees seemed to lean more than usual. Shadows lengthened without reason, and the reflection of the sun remained motionless, swallowed by the dark surface. The first disappearances happened without fanfare. People who sat by the water's edge to study the phenomenon simply never got up again. Flashlights and cameras were found on the shore, but never the bodies. Not a scream, not a struggle. Just the absolute silence of the lake, broken only by the distant whisper of the water. Those who remained observed a strange calm in those who disappeared. There was no despair. There was a silent acceptance, as if each individual had decided that following the lake was the only possible choice. Some visitors reported hearing their own name being called by the sound of the water, a subtle invitation that no one could ignore. Authorities tried to intervene, but the lake seemed to defy human logic. Nighttime searches revealed nothing but the impenetrable reflection of the water. Researchers and curious onlookers attempting to measure its depth or density perceived only a calm, deceptive surface that concealed something impossible to quantify. And with each disappearance, the lake seemed to grow more imposing, deeper, more silent. Those who remained felt the weight of inevitability. It wasn't a matter of strength or courage. It was simply a matter of time before the water swallowed yet another presence, leaving the place exactly as it was, still, mesmerizing and deadly. On a night when the sky was clear, the lake seemed darker than ever. The moon reflected only partially on the water, and the still surface absorbed any remaining light. The remaining visitors felt the weight of anxiety and curiosity at the same time, unable to turn away. Each step towards the shore seemed inevitable, as if something were silently pushing them, without visible force, but with absolute precision. Those who tried to retreat felt a strange resistance. The earth seemed heavier, their muscles slower. Every movement required disproportionate effort, as if the lake were adjusting the world to keep its victims at the water's edge. Breathing became slower and deeper, almost painful, as if the air were being absorbed along with the light. When someone finally touched the surface, there was no struggle, no screams. The body disappeared slowly, as if the water swallowed just enough so that no one noticed immediately. Flashlights and cameras fell, reflecting the moonlight, but there was no trace of the vanished. The lake remained still, reflecting the night as if nothing had happened. Those who remained until the end witnessed the absolute silence after the last disappearance. The air seemed denser, the trees quieter. Nothing moved. Nothing manifested itself. Only the lake remained there, motionless, impenetrable, as if it were eternal. And any attempt at escape or rescue seemed futile in the face of its presence, which did not need to shout to impose its authority. The lake not only absorbed light and time, it consumed the attention, the curiosity, the very essence of anyone who approached too closely. After the last disappearance, everything returned to its perfect and deceptive calm. The smooth surface reflected the night sky, and no one except the lake knew what had happened. When morning arrived, the lake looked exactly the same. Its still surface reflected the pale sky, and the thin mist still glided slowly over the water, like a silent veil. For any visitor arriving there for the first time, there was no reason to suspect what had occurred the previous night. The absence of screams, tracks, or bodies made everything even more disturbing. The feeling of normalcy was merely an illusion carefully maintained by the lake, a facade that concealed what truly happened beneath its dark surface. The locals no longer spoke of the disappearances. Some of the few survivors remained taciturn, avoiding any conversation about the lake. Their eyes showed memories they dared not express in words, deep feelings of awe and loss that even they themselves did not fully understand. Others simply left the region, moving far away, trying to erase from their lives any memory of that place. But even from a distance, the lake remained present in their memories, as if their own minds had been touched by the influence of the water. New curious visitors continued to arrive, drawn by the almost hypnotic beauty of the lake or by accounts of inexplicable phenomena recounted by previous visitors. Each person initially described a feeling of comfort, as if the lake understood exactly what each one needed to feel: a profound calm, an illusory security, a silent invitation to linger. But gradually, the perception of time shifted, and visitors began to feel the strange slowness of the world around them. Every movement required more effort, every thought became heavy, and the weight of their own presence seemed to blend into the silent atmosphere of the water. Objects forgotten by those who had gotten too close reappeared on the shore, always arranged in an organized manner, as if the lake were trying to communicate subtly. Backpacks, bottles, cameras, books, and other belongings surfaced, but nothing revealed the true nature of the disappearances. No bodies, no concrete clues, only the unsettling certainty that the lake absorbed something much deeper than mere physical presence. The sun continued to be partially swallowed by the reflection of the water. Even on clear days, the light seemed trapped on the surface of the lake, as if it were under the dominion of the water itself, unable to penetrate it completely. Anyone who got too close felt this darkness sucking away not only the light, but also their attention, their curiosity, and sometimes their very will to resist. There was a deceptive calm in the lake, but beneath this serenity lay a silent, patient presence, observing every step, every hesitation, every decision. As the days and weeks passed, visitors' accounts revealed a chilling pattern. Few could stay for long without being seduced by the lake. The water didn't press, it didn't pull, it didn't demand any action. It simply existed, and this silent existence was enough to transform any sense of choice into a gradual and inevitable acceptance. Those who got too close seemed to disappear from the history of the outside world, absorbed by a routine that only existed there, at the edge of the dark water. The lake paradoxically didn't need to threaten. It didn't need to drag or swallow. It didn't need to fight. It simply remained there, still and perfect, mesmerizing and deadly. To those who observed from afar, it remained just a beautiful, mysterious, and innocuous lake. To those who drew too close, however, it became a place of silent decisions, irreversible consequences, and absolute fascination. And so it remains to this day, season after season, night after night, waiting for new visitors to approach, confident that nothing bad will happen, only to discover, too late, that some places don't need to fight to dominate. They simply exist, and you get lost before you even realize it. The stillness of the lake becomes its own threat. The promise of safety is also a trap. The feeling of familiarity, of welcome, hides the fact that the time, light, and attention of each visitor are silently being consumed. Every reflection in the lake, every lengthening shadow, every moment of silence is part of an irresistible invitation that few can resist. Because some places don't want you to leave. They just wait, patient, silent, and when you realize it, it's already too late to go back. If you enjoyed this approach and want to continue exploring stories that are almost never told this way, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And now, click on the video that's appearing on the screen. It directly complements what you just watched and may completely change the way you see this story.